What if your favorite keychain became the most dangerous thing in your carry-on? Not your gadget charger or the bottle of shampoo, just the little souvenir you clip to your zipper. In 2025, that's no longer a crazy thought. According to TSA officials, new CT scanners are rolling out across the US and at major hubs overseas. These machines can scan powders like protein or medication without opening your bag. And they also check lithium power banks to make sure the capacity falls within safe limits. That means something you've carried a dozen times before can suddenly pull you aside for extra screening. Can you guess? Inside the US, most of the time that ends with confiscation or maybe a fine. Step off a plane in the wrong country, the rules shift fast. In the UAE, even a small vape cartridge has led to hefty fines. The same object, totally routine at home, can lead to missed flights or even a criminal charge. But don't worry, I'll show you exactly how to avoid those pitfalls. Today, we'll walk through the top 12 everyday carry-on items that could derail your trip, how serious each one usually is, and the simple moves that keep you out of trouble. Let's get started. With new CT scanners, powders have become one of the most misunderstood items you can carry. There have been real cases of travelers heading to Dubai with a tub of vanilla protein. To them, it's just post-workout fuel. To the scanner, it shows up as a dense white block, indistinguishable from narcotics. In the US, TSA has a 12-ounce rule. Anything above that in your carry-on gets extra screening, swabs, and a lot of questions. Internationally, it can be even tougher. Travelers in Australia and the UAE have been delayed for hours while labs tested what turned out to be supplements. So how do you keep your trip from turning into an episode of airport chemistry? Simple. Keep powders in their original sealed packaging with the ingredients label visible. Splitting them into plastic baggies or unlabeled jars only makes you look suspicious. And if you're carrying more than a small amount, check ahead. Some countries require declaration even for supplements. Powders aren't banned, but the way you pack them can decide whether you board on time or spend the afternoon explaining your fitness routine to customs. Would you risk missing your flight over a scoop of protein? Or maybe you watched someone else get caught red-handed? Share your story in the comments. I guarantee other travelers will relate. A wedge of cheese wrapped in paper from a local market in Rome might feel like the perfect gift, until agricultural officers pull you aside and confiscate it on the spot. The issue isn't the cheese itself, but the risk of bringing bacteria or animal diseases across borders. That's the hidden danger of packing food. Meat, dairy, fruit, even fresh vegetables can all fall under strict biosecurity rules. Agencies like USDA in the US or their counterparts in Europe treat undeclared food as a serious violation, not a harmless mistake. Fines can reach thousands of dollars, and in countries like Australia or New Zealand, penalties apply even for something as small as a single apple or sausage. So what's the safe approach? Enjoy those specialties where you buy them. If you really want to bring something home, stick to factory-sealed, clearly labeled products, and declare them honestly at customs. The worst that happens is confiscation. Try to hide it, and you risk turning a snack into a smuggling charge. But hold on. What's the real risk here? It's not just losing your food. It's losing money, time, and sometimes even your clean travel record. And when you think you're safe, even free souvenirs from the beach, like a shell or a handful of sand, can land you in hot water. That's where we're headed next. A shiny shell from Bali or a jar of sand from Hawaii might feel like the perfect souvenir, but you'd never guess how much trouble they can cause. Customs sees natural souvenirs as a threat to ecosystems. Shells, sand, coral, they can carry hidden bugs, bacteria, or tiny organisms that don't belong in your home country. And if they invade successfully, the result can be an environmental disaster. And here's where it gets real. In New Zealand, forget to declare a single seashell. Bam! $400 gone. In Hawaii, taking coral or sand can mean fines up to $100,000. And in Australia, inspectors won't hesitate to penalize you for trying to sneak natural materials past the scanner. That free beach souvenir, it can cost you more than your plane ticket. So here's the smarter way. Snap a photo, buy certified souvenirs from a shop, and leave nature where it belongs. That way, you've saved yourself the hassle and kept the memory alive forever. Your Instagram will thank you, and so will the reef. And if this tip helps, hit that like button and subscribe, because next we're diving into the battery rules that catch even the most seasoned flyers. Ever wondered if that power bank in your bag could actually stop you from boarding? For you, it's just a backup when your phone's dying. For airport security, though, it can look like a fire risk waiting to happen. Here's the number that matters: 100 watt-hours. Stay under it, and you're fine. Between 100 and 160, you'll need airline approval. Anything higher, it's not flying with you. And if your pack doesn't show its watt-hour rating clearly, some countries don't take chances. Japan, for example, allows officers to confiscate unlabeled batteries on the spot. So why do laptops and phones get a pass? Because their batteries are labeled, traceable, and built to international standards. Security knows what they're looking at. A mystery block with no markings? That's a question mark nobody wants to deal with at 35,000 feet. One viewer told us their 10,000 milliamp-hour pack was labeled 38.5 wide, no issues at all. Another carried a big, brand new charger with no watt-hour printed and lost it before boarding. Would you know how to check yours if an officer asked? Here's the fix. Look for the WH label before you pack. If it's missing, do the quick math. MRR times voltage divided by 1,000, and keep a screenshot handy. Tape over the terminals if you're carrying spares, and always carry them in your cabin bag, never checked. That 2-minute check at home can save you a $100 charger and maybe your flight. Bottom line, power banks aren't banned, but the wrong one, or the wrong label, can ground your plans. And next, we're opening up the smart luggage problem. Those sleek bags with built-in batteries? More than one traveler has had to choose between their $400 suitcase and their seat on the plane. You roll up to the airport with a $400 smart suitcase. Sleek, high-tech, even charging your phone as you wait in line. You feel unstoppable until the agent asks you to remove the battery. It doesn't budge. A quick shake of the head, and just like that, your smart bag is staying behind while you board without it. That's the reality this year. Airlines have had enough fire scares from lithium batteries hidden in cargo. If the power cell inside your bag can't be removed on the spot, the suitcase doesn't fly. End of story. Some brands say TSA approved, but TSA doesn't certify luggage. The only thing that matters is a battery you can remove on the spot. So how do you avoid heartbreak? Think of it as a stress test. At home, set a timer and try to pop the battery out. If you can't do it in 30 seconds, you're in trouble. Practice until it feels like muscle memory, because at the counter, fumbling with zippers and screws while a line builds behind you is not the time to experiment. Even carrying a tiny screwdriver in your kit can make the difference between keeping your bag or waving goodbye to it. But wait, the problem doesn't stop at suitcases. Did you know a rechargeable wine opener or even an AirTag can trip you up too? The rule is simple. If it runs on a lithium cell, it belongs in the cabin, not the cargo. The difference is that AirTags use a basic coin cell, so they usually pass without issue. But gadgets with hidden rechargeable batteries, that's where people get caught. So before your next flight, run the battery pop-out drill and double-check those harmless gadgets. Because nothing feels worse than having to choose between your suitcase and your seat. Think about it. Your toy in your backpack was treated like an aircraft at the border? That's exactly what happens with drones in 2025. Plenty of travelers picture sweeping shots over temples in India or pyramids in Egypt, only to find their drone seized the moment they land. In Morocco, drones are banned completely. No exceptions. In Egypt, even a foldable hobby drone can get you detained. And in India, you can't legally import one without registering weeks in advance, paying import duties, and getting a unique ID. Skip the paperwork, and your drone is gone before you've even left arrivals. And it's not simply the device itself. The batteries are another trap. Most drone batteries run over 100 watt-hours, which means they must ride in your carry-on, not in checked bags, and spares need to be taped over or stored in protective cases. Show up with unlabeled or oversized packs, and security won't hesitate to confiscate them. So how do you protect yourself? If your trip doesn't absolutely require aerial footage, leave the drone at home. If you really need it, research the local laws before you pack. Some countries require online permits, others ban them outright. And always double-check your batteries for watt-hour labeling and carry them properly. Because while drones can capture stunning views, the only shot you don't want is the one where you're standing at customs watching your gear disappear. Take a 5-second breath. By now you might be thinking, wait, are airports really this intense? Am I going to end up in handcuffs over protein powder? The reality is, most travelers don't. In the US especially, the usual outcome is simple. Security confiscates the item. Maybe you pay a fine, and you move on a little lighter than before. It's inconvenient, yes, but it rarely ends with anyone being marched out in cuffs. Where things change is at international borders. That's where stricter laws kick in, and where officers are trained to assume the worst until you prove otherwise. For example, in Japan, unlabeled medications may be pulled aside for testing. If officials suspect something, you could face hours of delay while proving your pills are legitimate. The process depends on the level of concern. Sometimes it's handled right there at the counter, but if the suspicion is more serious, you may be taken to a separate room until everything is verified. Similarly, a vape in Singapore can trigger steep fines. Arrests are usually tied to clear red flags, guns, narcotics, or disguised surveillance gear, not everyday slip-ups. But don't assume everything is safe either, because the real risks lie in unexpected places, and avoiding them can be surprisingly simple once you know how. So here's the balance. If you make a mistake with a powder, a snack, or a mislabeled charger, odds are it'll cost you time or money, not your freedom. But if you cross into the territory of weapons, controlled substances, or spy-style gadgets, that's when things get serious fast. Think of it like 2 lanes. One marked confiscation and fines, the other marked cuffs and court. Most travelers only ever drift into the first. The goal of this video is to make sure you never wander into the second. You know what almost every traveler worries about, even more than luggage weight? Their meds. Coming up, I'll show you how to carry them right and the exact line that gets you through security without a hitch. Let's bring it back to the most practical one, medications and supplements. This is where the rules feel simple at home, but shift the moment you cross a border. In the US, the TSA won't stop you over a pill organizer. They care about safety, not guessing whether your little white tablet is Advil or candy. But take that same case through Tokyo or Dubai, and suddenly it's a mystery box. No labels, no paperwork. Officers have no idea what those pills are. And in strict countries, they assume the worst. Travelers have been delayed for hours while nothing more than vitamins were tested in labs. And here's the real curveball. Older travelers often get hit hardest. Not because of age, but because of the medications themselves. Heart pills, thyroid meds, insulin. These are essential, and they're often controlled. One traveler even had insulin held back until verification. A scare nobody wants mid-journey. The fix? Proof. Always keep at least one original, pharmacy-labeled bottle in your carry-on. Snap a quick photo of the label, literally, one click on your phone. And if you're traveling with injectables or a bigger supply, ask your doctor for a short note. 2 minutes at home can save you hours of stress abroad. Here's a simple scripted line you can use at the checkpoint. I have labeled prescription meds and a doctor's note. Happy to present either. That one sentence shows you're prepared and transparent, which makes security far smoother. And if you think that sounds strict, wait until you hear about vapes, devices that aren't just restricted, but can actually get you fined or arrested mid-flight. What if you got slapped with a hefty penalty for a single vape puff? Sounds ridiculous, right? But one traveler landing in Bangkok faced exactly that, an expensive fine, and even the threat of jail. His mistake? Believing that what's legal at home must be fine abroad. That's the trap with vapes in 2025. The rules aren't only inconsistent, they're all over the map. In the US, TSA allows you to bring the device in your carry-on, but it can never go in checked bags because of the lithium battery. Using or charging it on board? Huge violation. Smoke detectors in airplane lavatories are highly sensitive, and even a small puff can trigger alarms that may lead to heavy penalties. Cross into Asia or the Middle East, and the stakes rise fast. In Thailand, vaping is completely banned. Get caught, and you could face steep fines or even jail time. In Singapore, a first offense brings a fine over $500. In the UAE, using it outside designated areas will cost you too, and none of these places care that it's legal where you came from. So what's the smart move? If you're traveling internationally, treat your vape as a liability. If you absolutely must bring it, keep it in your carry-on, power it off, and never touch it on the plane. But the safest choice? Leave it at home and save yourself the headache. Because with vapes, the risk isn't merely losing a device, it's risking your freedom. And speaking of things that seem harmless but turn into criminal charges abroad, next up we'll dive into CBD, the wellness product that's turned more than a few vacations into courtroom stories. CBD feels harmless, right? In the US, you can buy it at gas stations, coffee shops, even mixed into skincare. But abroad, that same product can put you in serious trouble. And you know what? One traveler in Singapore was fined thousands of dollars just for carrying a CBD hand cream. Imagine if that were you. CBD there is treated as a controlled substance in some countries, and bringing it in can mean fines or prosecution. In Japan and the UAE, the label THC-free doesn't protect you. Even trace amounts are still considered illegal. In fact, in zero-tolerance countries, the smallest detectable amount of THC can be treated as a serious offense. Across much of Asia and the Middle East, CBD may be handled as a controlled substance. Possession can mean confiscation, heavy fines, and in some cases, criminal charges. But do you know what's most alarming? Advanced screening and testing can detect cannabinoids. Thinking they won't notice isn't safe anymore, because they will. And I didn't know won't work as an excuse at the border. But don't worry, here's a simple tip to stay safe. Unless you've double-checked and confirmed CBD is legal at your destination, don't pack it. Leave the gummies, oils, and creams at home. Wellness products aren't worth turning your trip into a courtroom visit. Would you risk your entire vacation for a tiny bottle of CBD oil? Tell me what you think in the comments. You're thinking, it's just a cheap souvenir. Customs won't care if I grab a $50 designer bag in Bangkok. But hold on, listen to how much trouble it can cause. In 2025, that mindset can cost you more than the real thing. France fines travelers up to €300,000 for carrying fake luxury goods. In Italy, inspectors can seize knockoffs on the spot and may have lasting consequences with customs. Even in the US, border agents confiscate counterfeit sneakers or electronics and slap penalties on the owner. Why so strict? Because counterfeit sales fund organized crime, and governments are cutting off the money supply. Officers are also trained to spot fakes instantly. Misaligned logos, cheap zippers, sloppy stitching, and new AI scanners in some EU airports are being tested to flag suspicious luggage automatically. Travelers who thought they'd hide a fake among the real often end up humiliated when the knockoff gets pulled out in front of everyone. So how do you stay safe? If the price feels too good to be true, it is. Buy souvenirs, not luxury steals. And if you're traveling with genuine high-end items, keep receipts or purchase photos handy. You don't want your real Cartier mistaken for a knockoff. Up next, we'll look at hidden lenses, spy-style gadgets that seem harmless, but in some countries can turn you into a suspect before you've even hit baggage claim. Did you know that a pair of glasses or a cool spy pen could get you flagged like an undercover agent? That's not science fiction, it's airport reality. Phones can record video or audio, sure, but security knows what they are. They're traceable, standardized, and easy to screen. Hidden devices are different. A pen that doubles as a microphone, glasses with a covert camera, or even a baby monitor with disguised recording functions. All of these signal hidden intent. And at airports in places like Saudi Arabia or China, that alone can be treated as a criminal offense. One traveler learned this the hard way when their spy cam sunglasses were pulled at customs in the Middle East. It didn't matter that they just bought them online for fun. The device was categorized as surveillance gear, and they spent hours in questioning before being released. So what's the smarter move? If a gadget looks like it belongs in a spy movie, leave it at home. Even tiny audio recorders hidden in keychains or pens can raise eyebrows in strict countries. Your phone is plenty. Use it openly, and you won't give anyone a reason to suspect you. Because with hidden cameras and hidden audio devices, the problem isn't what you plan to record. It's what the authorities think you might record. And that's a battle you'll never win at the border. And if you're thinking, well, I'd never carry spy gear anyway, the next part might surprise you, because the items that trigger the most trouble aren't high-tech at all. They're everyday items like pens, keychains, or belt buckles that get classified as weapons. That's what we're uncovering next. That cute cat-shaped keychain you picked up for self-defense? At home, it's a cute accessory, even harmless. But at airport security, you're stunned when the officer suddenly pulls it out, and those sharp metal ears and finger holes are instantly classified as a weapon. And it isn't limited to keychains. Tactical pens, heavy belt buckles with hidden blades, even solid metal chopsticks have all raised red flags. Security staff don't care about the story behind them. They care about what they could do in the wrong hands. One former UK security officer said items like these have been getting confiscated for decades, and today's scanners just make it easier to spot them. The rules vary too. A multi-tool with a small blade might pass without issue in the US, but the same item could be banned outright in the UK or Europe. What slips through in one country can get you fined in another. So what's the smart move? Before you pack anything that looks tactical, ask yourself, would this raise eyebrows in a fight scene? If the answer is yes, leave it at home. The safest approach is to carry standard everyday gear and avoid items designed for dual use. The less your belongings look like self-defense tools, the smoother your trip will be. If this tip was helpful, hit like so I know to make more videos like this. And if you've got your own travel hack, drop it in the comments. Your idea might even get featured in a future video. So there you have it. The everyday carry-on items that can cost you fines, delays, or in the worst cases, even legal trouble. From vitamins in a pill box to a cute keychain that doubles as a weapon, the message is clear. Even the smallest item can become the biggest problem once you cross a border. The good news? Most of these problems are easy to avoid. A label on your meds, a quick check of your power bank, leaving shells on the beach instead of in your suitcase. Small choices that save you from big headaches. Travel should be about the stories you tell, not the hours you spend explaining yourself in a back room at the airport. If you found this video helpful, hit that like button. Subscribe for more no-nonsense travel tips and share it with a friend who's always overpacking. Because the only surprises you want on your next trip are the good ones. Safe travels, and I'll see you in the next video.